Let's call this meeting to order. Roll, please.
Showalter, Myers,
Here.
Howard,
Here.
Redlin,
Present.
Thompson.
Here. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Good evening, everybody. We have anybody signed up for public comment this evening? We do have you under discussion items later in the agenda. If you want to get up public comment and say something now, you can, or we can just talk about it later. Okay. So nobody else then? Okay. Let's move on to consent agenda. We have the 2024 commission meeting minutes and the appropriation ordinances 2024-11, 2024-11A, and 2024-P11. Any questions, comments, or concerns on those this go around?
I'll move to approve the consent agenda items A and B.
Have a motion by Commissioner Redlin and a second by Commissioner Howard. Any further discussion? Roll, please.
Howard,
Yes.
Myers,
Yes.
Redlin,
Yes.
Showalter, Thompson.
Yes. Okay, moving on to presentations and proclamations. We have Ben Shears with us this evening for a Northwest Kansas Technical College update. Good evening, Ben.
Good evening, good evening. Hear me okay on this?
Yep.
Okay. Well, as I checked with Mary when I first walked in, and I think she still gave me authorization for about an hour and a half, I think, for the presentation, so we're in pretty good shape.
Yeah, we'll get the lights if we get tired.
Right.
Appreciate the opportunity to come and talk. Let's stop visiting a little bit with Kent a little while back on just getting back in here and kind of give an update, overview on kind of what's going on at the college. I'll try my comments actually relatively brief. But first, I wanted to start off and just say how much I appreciate in the last 8 years and the continued increase in work with the city and across a lot of different departments. Good, bad, or otherwise, it's probably the local law enforcement we work with the most. But I just really greatly appreciate all the work that we do with various different departments. It's always nice when the winter weather rolls around. I'm usually up, Bill Bierman's usually up, and we're calling each other while we're driving around on the icy roads. Probably not the greatest idea, but we're coordinating on those things, and it's always great. City workers are always out well ahead of us, getting things cleared off, and especially on those days where we have that decision to make on whether to be open or not, to be able to cruise through campus and see that roads are already cleared off, installed, and ready to go for students before we get out there and start working on those is greatly appreciated. So thank you, thank you. A few other things to kind of update on. We're going through this neat little thing called the affiliation, which is a pretty big game changer for Northwest Tech. And of course, we've had a lot of social media posts and information and some public commentary kinds of things that we've done in the past, which kind of give an update on it. We are in the home stretch now, so we are now waiting on the Higher Learning Commission, which is the accrediting body for Northwest Tech, as well as Fort Hays State, KU, K-State, and about, I don't know, there's 20 different states that the HLC covers and institutions of higher education in those. And so that process is well underway. We're waiting on final authorization that we should receive late June, early July. The holiday time frame of the 4th of July, if they're like any other agency out there, we don't anticipate seeing anything official from them until about mid-July. I would expect probably Halloween in hand. We had a really great site visit. Most of that occurred electronically or digitally, as well as at the university. Really good feedback from the HLC, and I think all things considered, I think we're in really good shape. Authorize that come July. So when that happens, a couple big changes that will happen for Northwest Tech. We will be Fort Hays Tech Northwest. Our colors will be black and gold, and our mascot will change to the Tigers. And so we'll look a little different, but the same whole institution's been here since 1964. We'll still be rock and rolling. And as I talked with our students and as we talked with our employees when we first began this process, the reality is we've done change before. And JJ can attest to this as a former student of ours. At one point in time, we were blue and white, and we were the Tornadoes. And so it's only been about 12 years ago or so since we've So, we've done change before, and we're really excited about it. The local operations, will remain relatively the same. The big things that change is the governance model will change, and so our governance transfers to the university. So our area board, which I have 24 board members, that I work with at the college, and, that board will still stay in place. They'll become an advisory board. But through the process that we've done with Jorge State over the last couple of years in getting this thing stood up, they have delegated quite a bit of authority back to the local board, which was really important for us. It was important for our board, and I think it was important for the communities that are part of the affiliation. So our 24 board members will still be rocking and rolling. They'll still do a lot of the same kinds of things that they do at each of the monthly board meetings. But final authority still rests with the university on most decisions. And so we'll be navigating through that as we go, but it's been a really wonderful process. University's been really good to work with, and I think we'll see some really good stuff, both for our students as well as hopefully for business and industry, which is really the big driver that we've got behind this. So we'll see what kind of shapes up, but things are going along really well on that side of things. It will result in a few changes we'll have to work with. There's obviously on campus, there's a lot of signage changes, but there's a few things around the community as well, where we've got Northwest Tech up, whether that be an official city signage that we have on the highways coming in and out on the highway itself. So we'll work with Department of Transportation on that. And then the big billboard out by Short and Son, so we've got some work to do on that too. So we got a lot happening. It's gonna be is already a very, very busy summer. If you walk in our admin building right now, you won't find a stitch of carpet in the whole building, so we're all walking around with sticky, gooey shoes. So, things are moving along, really pleased there. Enrollment, was up, this last year. We were really excited about that. We were up about 9% in enrollment. We graduated one of our biggest classes, just a matter of a couple weeks ago, so we had about 150 students walk across the stage. So it was a really good graduation. A ton of those students staying in the region, which is always a win, and we'll continue to push really hard on that. One of the biggest challenges that we're starting to see turn, which has been really exciting to see, we have some regional employers that in the past maybe weren't quite at the table, but are now, and so we're starting to see some salaries come up. That's been one of the biggest challenges. Kansas gets out-competed pretty consistently by neighboring states, certainly out of Colorado, but also Nebraska and Missouri as well when it comes to labor demand and what folks are willing to pay. And so we have seen those wages start to come up, which is keeping more students in Northwest Kansas, which is, I think, a win for everybody. Certainly one of our objectives. It's also a really good thing, and we've seen this happen on a couple different occasions. Every year we see this happen, but we're taking a kid that comes off the front range in Colorado, find a job opportunity within this region, and then become a Kansas resident, Kansas taxpayer. We love those kinds of opportunities. So good stuff happening on that side. Enrollment right now is trending up for the fall, so it's looking really good. Our applications are way up over where we were a year ago. We're sitting about 75 to 85 applications ahead for admissions right now.
Good.
Where we were a year ago, so we're up 9% last year, and we're up again heading into this fall. So it's a very busy summer for our admissions folks as they're making calls with students, finalizing things, making sure they're coming or not coming, and getting everything wrapped up. So we have a busy summer ahead of us against affiliation and some of those changes. So excited to see what it's going to look like. So our crews are out rapidly deploying paint all over campus right now. And again, part of those logo changes, but also just getting things kind of refreshed to look on campus, which we think they come in the fall. So we'll see what shapes up. The biggest challenge I think we're going to have, and we had this in 2018, 2019, which was when we had our record enrollment, was housing. And so no big surprise, right? It's not just the college, it's not just the community, it's everything kind of
Yeah.
and so we're going to see how this comes in over the next couple of years as we continue to try to push for more enrollment and get more students here and see where and how we can make that happen. And so working with a lot of local landlords. And I will throw this out there too, because we get this question pretty regularly, which is we do have local landlords, how do they get in contact with us to get on the list? College admissions will put you on the list. No problem with that one. So, a couple other things I wanted to make sure I touch base on. Stuff with the state's been really good. It's been a pretty decent last couple of years working with the state of Kansas. We, this last year, were able to fortunately lobby for a base operating grant, which has been about $1.5 million that we were able to be able to provide new equipment for a load of our programs. It also allowed us to hire a full-time CDO instructor, so he will stand up CDO. some CDL classes that we're running, and then looking into this next year on how that's gonna shape up and how that's gonna take shape. So a little bit more coming in that arena as well. State appropriations going into this next year were down on the tech college side, but fortunately we were able to get that base operating rate again. So coming into this next calendar year, academic year for us, which begins after July 1, we'll be able to receive those funds again. So that's going to allow us to be able to do some really, I think, innovative things, creative things. A couple things we're considering that we've got on the table right now. We are evaluating. I get a pretty consistent request almost every single year from a couple different employers that we do some short-term training for commercial sprayers. And so we're going to look at a short-term certification under a semester. So we're going to look to try to do that as rapidly as we can. That would involve being able to get applicator's license, CDL that goes along with that, OSHA, some of those kinds of things. So we're going to be looking at standing that up over the next year to year and a half.
Yeah, that's good.
After some grant funding to help support that. So there's definitely a need.
Mhm.
And
Sure.
it's one of those things with the state of Kansas. We also have to prove when we stand up a program that there's good salary behind it, and there certainly are in that particular field as well. So no pun intended. So we'll see where we go there. One additional piece I wanted to touch base on, which is always, this thing has been, quite frankly, it's been my albatross in my time here at Northwest Tech, because I went after the building. Some of you may recall when I stood here in front of this podium several years ago and requested the building 1008 Main. And I have some really good news as far as updates on that. We went through a course during those first year or so that we had it, had about 60 different employees and students go through and clean it out, clear out the building. And so all in all, it's in pretty decent shape. It's maintained in the same shape that it was in before. We brought in GMCN, which is the architect that's done quite a bit of work for the college as well as within the community. And we had them bring in a structural engineer on the building, and discovered that out of all the things that we thought might be going on with the building, the good news is it has a really good basement floor. Beyond that, south wall, north wall are in pretty decent shape, but we've got a pretty significant crack that's running on the west wall from down in the basement all the way up to the top of the building. And so the west wall is probably the biggest concern. It's not going to fall over anytime soon, anything like that, but it is something that as we go to look at how we are going to habitate the building and rehab the building going forward, that wall is probably going to have to be changed out. And so I'd love, it's a three thick brick wall, so it's a pretty significant structure, and I would love to be able to put that back into play. That's the same, but we're going to evaluate that kind of going forward as well and restore that. The biggest thing that we've been waiting on has been, in order to make the building habitable, the estimates that we've gotten at this point were about a $700,000 renovation, and that would include pouring brand new big thick footers in the basement that would allow for the basement to be filled, which was one of the things that was suggested to help shore up the structure of the building itself, and would also relieve any pressure, any potential pressure on neighboring basements, and then filling the basement with a concrete pad on top of that, and then rebuilding, if any of you have been inside this building, you'll know the entire first floor has to be taken out, and the entire second floor has to be taken out. And then we did, from the structural engineer, did recommend that the roofing system be replaced as well, and it doesn't meet specifications. And so, like I said, we've got a really good basement floor right now. So we're going to be working through that. The biggest thing that has held up the progress on that facility has been finding money. We've gone after grants. We've applied for a couple different grants, sizable grants, did not get them. So this year we took a different approach, and we went after a congressionally directed spending request and worked with Senator Moran to go after that. And so the timeliness, I didn't know this at the time that we set up this conversation because I just got the notification over the weekend. But we did make the list for the congressionally directed spending request. And so it is off will be off very soon to the U.S. Congress to be able to fund this project. And so what we had requested was a request for $1.75 million. Keeping in mind, when I was saying earlier about $700,000 to make it habitable, that included, of course, putting a floor in, putting a second floor in, and that is it. So no nice finishes anywhere, anything, just making the building structurally safe.
Yeah.
And so everything else that goes into that congressionally directed spending request from that point forward goes into the actual purpose of the building. And that's the stuff that we're really excited about. And so what we're working with, I turned it over to turned the project over a while back to our engineering faculty. And what we're going to look to do is create a makerspace, essentially. But it's an advanced manufacturing lab open for the community to come in. So we'll have some advanced manufacturing equipment in there, advanced 3D printers, milling equipment, subtractive manufacturing equipment, so 5-axis, 4-axis CNC machining, as well as some other kinds of, I would say, more carpentry-related equipment. But we've seen some really good labs. We've been looking for the last couple of years at various different labs around the state. There's a great one down in Independence called the Fab Lab. If you get a chance to take a look at it, it's a pretty exceptional, and it's an old Walmart, so that's much bigger scale than what we're looking to do. But we would like to have a space. It's been pretty overwhelming, I think, since we stood up our advanced manufacturing lab on campus for our students to use. The amount of community members that we have that come in with projects that our students get to reverse engineer and create and work on. And one of the things we're really looking to do is try to create an environment in Northwest Kansas, specifically in Sherman County, where we can push an expansion of advanced manufacturing. So this is another component on that, where we'll be able to do some work there. In addition to that, we will also be partnering with SBDC, which is a Small Business Development Center. It is not only that we're going to be able to have this space open for community members to come in, work alongside students in the afternoons and evenings with projects that they may have and want to create and do, but at the same time also being able to leverage those SBDC resources, which Fort Hays State University is the entity that oversees SBDC, and so this is another connection that we've been able to bring to the table with the affiliation to be able to help small business development. We really want to see some entrepreneurial work within advanced manufacturing in this region, and I really sincerely believe that with I-70, a large airport, we have a wonderful runway, as well as the rail access within the region. There's no reason why we shouldn't be able to do advanced manufacturing here. I've said it several times, if Norton can have 3 large manufacturers up there without those resources, there's no reason we shouldn't. And so that's what we're building out, is building out the infrastructure right now, so with the education program as well. So I will pause. Stand for questions.
Do you have any questions?
Do you have any different programs in addition to CDL and what you're talking about this coming year?
We've got Power Sports coming online, and so that will be, I get the question sometimes, what's Power Sports? And so we're doing a Power Sports technician program, so that's going to be UTVs, ATVs, side-by-sides, Can-Ams, things like that. We roll back, 10, 15 years ago, maybe you didn't see quite as many of those, but you go out to any grower in our region, and you'll see numerous UTVs, ATVs, side-by-sides, things like that out on the farm. And folks need to work on it. We have a board member that I think was waiting about 9 months to try to get his work on. Over the years, he could get it in. So that tells us there's definitely demand. So we're looking to stand that up. We've got a few other things that we're not ready quite yet to go public with.
Okay.
But we're always looking at what kind of programs we can stand up that
Nice.
meet the need within the region.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions? Please continue.
What's that?
So please continue. Did you have more? Or were you-
I think those were my, I
Oh.
got you about
You just
15
got-
minutes there, so.
Yeah.
That was my goal. was to
That's
keep to about
impressive.
15.
There's always lots of exciting things going on at the college. It's always fun to to watch from the outside and to see all the things you have going on. You've always done a great job since you've gotten there of just growing and expanding and trying new things and making it exciting for everybody at the college. So thank you for that. And I really do hope that your funding comes through for the building downtown, because I think that is a really cool opportunity that could be for that building down there. So I hope that works out.
Yeah, if nothing else, we're persistent, so we'll keep going back to the well wherever we can until we find funds to be able to do that, so.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
You bet.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on, ordinances and resolutions. We have none this meeting, so we'll move to formal actions, starting with awarding a bid for a street sweeper. Kent or Kenton?
Mayor and members of the commission, we had sent out an invitation for bid. We had received from 2 manufacturers 5 different bids. One manufacturer had given us 4 different bids. However, it was the other manufacturer that provided the low bid. So, Kenton, you may want to go through some information.
All three of these pieces of equipment we did demo. Obviously, we own the Pelican. That's what we run right now. We did attend the global class, and with us attending that class on their machine, it was a really good information that we got from there. So we wanted to go with the global. It is the lowest bid. The key equipment with the Pelican, we have spent a lot of money on the last 10 years keeping it running. So I think it's due for us to try something different. The global is a little bit different machine. It's still a three-wheel machine, but it's front wheel steer versus rear wheel steer. So it's a little different looking on the, you were able to see a picture of it.
Yeah,
I-
did look through the
Included in the
brochure.
packet.
Yep.
Josh can probably.
There's numerous towns around that's been going global. We did reach out to the city of Wichita. I talked to the director of the street department, and he said they had Pelicans prior to us, and he would recommend for them to go back to Pelican and take off. He really likes the global. We did. They included every option other than the third broom attachment, which is about $30,000 attachment. It's just another broom that goes on the very front of it, which they can you can kind of there it is right there. That's something I didn't think we really need to spend an extra $30,000 on. So, but they did miss the directional light bar on it, which was the additional $3,000. Which still put us fell under what we were looking at.
What was in your packets included that arrow stick, so.
But as far as everything with the global, everything is, all the options are on it other than that third one. So, the Pelicans, prices that they did come in, and the Broom Badger, those were all standard, so not including the options. For us to build the options out to just like our Pelican, you're looking over $300,000. So, because that was just standard that they priced plus all the options. So. The Global also is a lot more user friendly. One person should be able to change out the room by himself. The Pelican, it's usually a two-man job. It's easier to get in and out than the Pelican. I don't know if you guys seen the Pelican. It's quite the job. Flat to get up in there and stuff. So, but, I think all in all, I think the Global will be a good machine for the city. So, you guys have any questions about it?
No, I mean, I don't think so. I'm just looking at the brochure. It looks like it should be a nice piece of equipment. We're just relying on your expertise.
Levi looked at it too, the mechanic, and after he was optimistic about this sweeper, but after we went to that class on it, he was really on board with it also. So it wasn't just me looking at it. So
Where's it manufactured at?
I'm not positive.
I didn't see that either. It's overlooked it. Well, I'll make a motion.
It says made in the USA. Beyond that, I don't know.
Right.
But
I move to approve the bid for the 2024 Global M3 from Berry Tractor at the price of $265,158.
have a motion by Commissioner Howard,
Second.
second by Commissioner Myers. Any further discussion? I just want to point out we do have plenty of money in the MRF to cover the cost of this machine. So this has been budgeted for, and the time has just come.
There actually should be
Mhm.
extra.
Yep. I think it's 322,000 is what's in there at the moment. So. Okay, roll please.
Horn,
Yes.
Bradley,
Yes.
Myers,
Yes.
Showalter, Thompson.
Yes. Yeah, thank you, Ken. Okay, move on to B, the airport hangar lease termination for Scott's Flying Service. Ken?
This had come up, it was part of the original agreement with Taylor Scott of Scott's Flying Service to have plans started within a year of signing the agreement. That year was up on April 3rd. At the meeting, the airport board meeting in April, Taylor had indicated he had just started discussions with the contractor, and he had some other things going on with another hangar that he was involved with here, as far as, it's called the Toplift hangar, but Toplift doesn't own the hangar, but the hangar at the end of the road there. And they gave them an extra month to come up with, okay, what are your plans for it? The airport board met a week and a half ago, and there hadn't been any contact at that time. And they made a recommendation to have the city commission consider and take action regarding the agreement. Since that happened, Taylor Scott has contacted city staff, and he came by today and signed a mutual termination of lease. And so instead of this agreement, it's basically changed to like we did with the prior business entity, and have a mutual termination of the lease agreement. So that's where we're at.
Okay, anybody have any questions on this?
No.
Okay, well, I will make a motion to approve the termination of the airport lease with Scott's Flying Service.
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Redlin. Forgot your name for a second there. Any other further discussion? Roll, please.
Redlin,
Yes.
Showalter, Howard,
Yes.
Myers,
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes. Okay, up next, a CMB license for the rec room. Good evening.
Neil Watson and Allison Griffith, who are starting the rec room at 1222 Main Street. They've applied for a CMB license for consumption on the premise. The inspections have been completed both by the fire department and the building official, and the background investigation's been completed by the chief of police. This is normally what happens with an initial application regarding the CMB license on the renewals. We don't ask the vendors to come to the meeting, but on the initial application, we do ask them to come to the meeting. So they were here a few months ago and described what their business was going to be started up, but I didn't know if you had any other words to say at this time.
Just like Ben, we've been in the last few weeks painting.
Yeah.
We've got quite a bit done in there, a lot of the structures there, we're waiting on some equipment, got some tables in, set one of them up today, so we're getting pretty darn close, so really looking forward to it.
I
You guys have
did.
an opening date yet? Thought process of an opening date?
We're looking right around solstice, maybe a couple days prior or after, right around June 28th-ish.
I'll say which solstice. You know what I mean?
First of July.
Yeah.
And all the trends on shipping, when we get all the equipment in, all that good stuff, so.
Like,
I did take it upon myself to let myself in the other day when I saw you had the door open to see how things were coming. And it is coming along nice. I had a couple pool tables and your shuffleboard table and had a bunch of work going on. So it is looking very nice in there.
nice.
Have any other questions?
I'll make a motion that we approve the cereal malt beverage license for the rec room.
A motion by Commissioner Redlin,
Second?
second by Commissioner Myers. Any other further discussion? Roll, please.
Myers,
Yes.
Redmond,
Yes.
Howard,
Yes.
Showalter, Olmsted.
Yes. Thank you,
Thanks,
guys.
guys.
Thank you. Okay, we'll add one more item to the formal actions regarding property at 1526 Caldwell. I believe we're going to have Zach come up and present.
Good evening, everyone. This is for the nuisance property, clean up the yard and front yard and picture of all bicycles and lawnmowers and everything to show you a while back. The first bid we got was from A2 Construction, which was for $5,200. And then the second bid we received was from Goodies at $4,000. And then our low bid was from S&M Repair for $1,000. Was the only one that included his insurance and everything with it, like he was requested. So I recommend he did $1,000 bid to have that cleaned up and eyesight taken care of.
And this is just for
Just cleaning up the property.
cleaning everything
We
up.
have the public hearing set for the first meeting in July to actually take care of the structure.
So this is just everything on the outside of the property.
It also includes the abandoned camper that are parked in the backyard that are not having. We've been having issues with somebody trying to live in the camper. Chief of police called me about that last week.
All right, anybody have any questions, comments, concerns on this? In that case, I will make a motion to approve the bid for the cleanup 1526 Caldwell Avenue for $1,000 from S&M Repair.
I'll second. Give it to JJ.
Second by Commissioner Howard. I didn't know where, that was pretty close. That was pretty even. Any other further discussion? Roll, please.
Myers,
Yes.
Howard,
Yes.
Redmond,
Yes.
Showalter, Olmsted.
Yes. Thank you, Zach.
Thanks, Zach.
Okay, moving on to discussion items, starting with resolution 1636 for the 2024 GAP waiver. Mary's favorite discussion that we have every year.
Well, and both Mary and myself, we had some discussion regarding this because there was a lot of serious questions. We don't think the questions were getting answered regarding it. So complete a little bit of research why we have this resolution to waive generally accepted accounting principles, but it's basically going by a different set of accounting principles that are allowed under state statute. They actually have it within the state statute. To follow auditing standards generally accepted, as well as KMAG, which is Kansas Municipal Audit and Accounting Guide #1. So, I didn't know as much about this before we started doing this additional research as well. But the biggest thing that's with it, and why a lot of cities choose to go this route, is it basically changes the basis of accounting from cash accounting, cash on hand. You count the cash on hand versus modified accrual or accrual basis of accounting, and which also counts. It may not be in cashing in, but you've had an agreement that it will be forthcoming, or you'll be forthcoming that you'll have that expenditure. Either one, and you have to account for that. And there's some additional work for to include that on your monthly books as well as your annual books, as far as that a modified accrual or the full accrual. The other thing that, and this was because of the Government Accounting Standards Board, GASB, probably the biggest thing came out with GASB statement number 34. They're now up to statement 101 or 102. So they issue these statements on a fairly regular basis. But back in the late 90s, they issued a GASB Statement 34 for people with staff to start following and have a depreciation account for depreciation of assets. Well, the city's assets, your streets, your water lines, your sewer lines, the water towers, the treatment plants, etc. They want that included as far as your total assets and have a depreciation schedule. Well, once you come to the end of that depreciation schedule, what do? You know, that's what a number of communities can, you know, what's the purpose of that? Because you're not going to change out every street after 50 years, which is a 25, it's actually only 25 or 30 years that they depreciate streets. But we make our streets last far longer. Every community does, because there's no way you could afford to redo the streets. Every street in town, even every 50 years, even every 100 years. It's just not feasible. And in a small community like ours, let alone the big communities, you're just not going to be able to do that. Same with the water lines, same with the sewer mains. You're going to depreciate them, but you aren't going to be replacing them. You aren't going to be replacing the vast majority of them. You're going to make improvements to make sure it operates well. So this is additional accounting, additional engineering you'd have to pay to calculate what the amount of the assets are. And then you're going to have to depreciate it, so that's an additional work for both your auditor and for your accounting staff. And then you're going to have a little bit more information. And it is worthwhile sometimes to have that additional piece of information. But it doesn't make a difference, according to our bond attorney. This isn't our opinion. This is from the bond counsel. It's not going to make a difference as far as how your bond's rated or what's the credit worthiness of your city. They understand this, and they look at it in whole. They don't look as, are you accounting for it? So it's a little bit of a complicated subject, and we kind of have gone along for several years saying, well, we have this waiver. We'd like you to pass this waiver so we can continue on our cash basis of accounting.
And you got this guy every year that says, well, why?
And we have someone that says, excuse me, what? Why? So included in your packet, the state statute. And it does have states in there, the governing body of any municipality which is granted a waiver under this subsection shall cause financial statements and financial reports of the municipality to be prepared on the basis of cash receipts and disbursements, as adjusted to show compliance with cash basis laws and also the budget laws of the state. So you're not violating state statute, you're not violating anything the state requires all cities to do if you pass this gap waiver. And what's surprising is that there's a handful of first-class cities, bigger cities, that actually still do this, still do the waiver and still do it by cash. Hutchinson does, Dodge City does. There's a number of first-class cities that don't. They go ahead and they do either a comprehensive annual financial report, or the GASB again said they now want it called the annual comprehensive financial report, the ACFR, just in case you were getting used to saying CAFR. But everybody calls it CAFR still. But then the cities of the second class, overwhelmingly, there's only 9 out of 90 cities that I could find through their audits that actually do operate and audit according to GAAP, according to the generally accepted auditing principles. The 81 other cities in the second class, which is all kinds of communities You know, anywhere from 1,500 up to about 15,000. There's a couple that are in the 20,000 range. There's 81 cities that go ahead with the waiver. So 81 cities do, and with the waiver, 9 cities do not, as far as cities of the second class. And then there's a handful, I did not look through a huge amount, but at least the neighboring communities, third class cities, as far as St. Francis, Oakley, and Atwood, they all do the cash basis. And then a couple larger communities that are still cities of third class, Mays and Lewisburg. But, so I wanted to give that information to you, and hopefully that makes a little bit better sense why staff recommends this resolution to waive generally accepted auditing principles. But there's another set of auditing principles. That's why it's kind of a little bit of a misnomer. It's like, yeah, but it's according to the generally accepted auditing principles, or accounting principles, sorry. So hopefully I didn't confuse it anymore. I don't know if Mary has anything else to say. She'll probably say no, because she told me that all week, that she was not going to speak on this. But,
I think he covered it very well. I'm not gonna say no. I think he covered it very well.
Yeah, I think you did too.
so, does that bring up any other questions for you?
I mean, part of the reason why I've always kind of wanted to delve into this more every year is that, you know, early on my first year when this came up, where I talked about it, I'm like, I don't know what this is, and you try to dig into it, and it's like you need a 2-year college degree to try to figure out how it goes. But you know, and digging into it, I mean, I do feel like there is value, even if it's just in the knowledge of what the city is aware of as far as infrastructure goes, of knowing your depreciated value of your assets, you know, and what you need to focus on moving forward, and you know, kind of gives you a good overview of where things sit as far as infrastructure of the city. And I do think there's value there. I do feel like we've done a pretty good job the last couple of years focusing on, especially like older water lines and stuff, and focusing on things that we know need to get replaced, and we're kind of making that a habitual thing that we're working on, not just, and we've even trying to be more proactive into making sure things are up to snuff and not just wait until things are breaking, and you know, which is horrible. But I think there's value in there, especially when it gets to the point where, you know, we have to raise utility rates and stuff to start paying for some of this older infrastructure that is failing and will fail and will cost a lot of money to fix just because it is old, you know. And I think it can be used as a, well, look, we have, this is where we are, this is where we sit. We're not, you know, raising rates just to raise rates. We have all this evidence here saying, hey, this is what it is. This is what we're working with. But I do feel like we're doing a pretty good job at that. I don't have any arguments personally against the waiver, but I do appreciate the work that you put in to try to explain things a little better for everybody, so everybody has a pretty good understanding of exactly the differences between the two and why we do it the way we do. I know Mary appreciates it every year that we do this. I'd hate to send her into early retirement if we decided not to approve the waiver this year. But.
She did not threaten that, but please don't give her any idea.
That's all my thoughts on it. Anybody have anything else? No. Okay, so I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 1636 for the 2024 GAP waiver.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Howard. Any other further discussion? Roll, please.
Redlin,
Yes.
Howard,
Yes.
Myers,
Yes.
Showalter, Thompson.
Yes.
Thank you.
You are welcome. Okay, moving on to C, property at 122 West 14th, demo removal.
I think you skipped.
You skip
One.
B. You
I
called it
skipped
C.
B, sorry.
You called it C.
Nope, I did. That's resolution 1637, setting the public hearing for de-annexation. Sorry, Dwight, didn't mean to skip you. Kent, I don't know if you want to start us off there.
The party came in and talked about, just because of the other de-annexation that occurred. This is another set of 2 lots out at the Goodland Energy Center. And I don't know, Josh, if you're able to make it to the map for that. I didn't really talk to you beforehand about it. But this is 2 additional lots out in the Goodland Energy Center. And he did file a petition for de-annexation, and we're just following the procedure that goes with that. And this is regarding Goodland Energy Center, lots 17 and 18. So,
Right.
There aren't any city services out there, and I'm assuming the city has no interest in building out the infrastructure. So I guess I'd kind of like to be removed from city limits.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is a very fair argument for property out there. I think you're correct in saying that we, at this point in time, for sure, don't have any interest in providing extra services out there. You know, the cost would be not justifiable for us to bring them out there.
17 and 18.
Yeah, the one with the buildings on it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so what we're looking at today is to do a resolution which would set a time and a place for an actual hearing to happen for us to decide whether or not we want to de-annex the properties or not. Do you have any questions regarding that at all, Dwight? Okay. Anybody have any questions for Dwight?
Nope.
Okay. Okay, so on the resolution we have that it would be on the 1st of July at 5 o'clock to do the hearing to de-annex properties at the Goodland Energy Center for lots 17 and 18. I will make a motion to approve resolution 1637 to do so.
Second.
And a second by Commissioner Myers. Any other further discussion? Roll, please.
Redland.
Yes.
Howard.
Yes.
Myers.
Yes.
Showalter. Thompson.
Yes. Okay, Dwight, things are in motion. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, now let's move on to 122 West 14th Street regarding the removal of the pile of rubble.
We just need to keep putting it on the agenda, because every time we do, something starts to happen.
Yep. I will say that before we came to meet on that, I did ride by and saw that they were actively working there. They got a couple rollouts and they were working on filling them up, so.
Still have had no contact after reaching out multiple times, but as long as we're making the process, I think we leave it where it's at, just in
Yep.
case it stops, we can pick up where it left off. But for now, I think we table it until further action happens.
You okay with that? We'll just let it go, and if we feel like we need to bring them back up for discussion next meeting again, we sure can.
Seems to be a good motivator.
I think we just keep putting it on the agenda.
Yeah.
That's good.
Sounds good.
Okay. Exactly. Okay. Next item is regarding the proceeds from the industrial park lot sale. How it works. Okay, I had asked to have this put on here. You know, we sold the lot over there for $30,000, and I was kind of thinking, like, what do we want to do with the money from that lot? Is it something that we want to reinvest into the community in some way? Is that something we need to put in our coffers to try to cover extra expenses for other things that may come up. My own personal thoughts that I had kind of come up with is, you know, we had invested quite a bit of money on a sprinkler system over at Phillips Parks last year. But, you know, the equipment out there is older, but it's still good. But the paint's kind of chipped. There isn't really any good edging along the rocks and stuff. And, you know, the covered areas that are out there are quite old and have seen better days. My thoughts for maybe the use of the money would be good to invest back into that park over there to maybe, you know, freshen up the paint, maybe put some clean edging on the rocks around the equipment out there, and maybe look into some sort of a better covered area for that park. I think it is a nice park. I think, you know, the grass is looking great this year. I think we would be doing it a disservice if we just stopped with the sprinkler system and didn't do some upkeep on the rest of the equipment out there as well. So that was just a thought that I had. You know, I don't know how much of that 30,000 or, you know, 29,850 or whatever our total amount ended up being on that would cover. I mean, it would involve, you know, taking a look at it, getting some quotes, or if that's something you guys were even interested in.
Well, I think it's a good idea. I mean, that park, it's used. And
Yeah.
just to freshen it up would be nice.
Kent, if you had more you wanted to.
No, it's just one caveat as far as, you know, we are coming with and the industrial park street and utilities project starts a week from today. And they'll start working, and they had we're actually able, through the grant, to be able to have the entire street done out in the industrial park, and all the lots served by water and sewer. And when Andrew, the engineer from EBH, was here last time, he did state that we were awful close on the amount.
Pretty much dead on.
It's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
out of the $200,000 project, not a couple $100,000, quite a few more $100,000 dollar project. It was down to $100 as far as something. I don't expect anything, but you always start a construction project with a little bit of uncertainty. So that's the only caveat I had as far as both the water and sewer were taken from reserves to be able to finish our portion, because there is a local match for that base grant, and to be able to finish that up. If that gets completed and we don't have any additional costs, I don't have any caveats or concerns to raise regarding where the money is brought to, but just wanted to say that at the beginning. And I do appreciate it, and Danny and I have brought that up at the Park and Rec Board as well regarding the shelters out at Phillips Park, and also the equipment, as far as some of the additional projects for master park plan that we're starting to put together with the park board. So we're trying to have at least just a general idea for all the various parks. But you're right, now that we have the irrigation in at Phillips Park, it can be a nice park for an awful lot of folks, including the school kids who get tired of their equipment and head over to Phillips Park a few times a year as it is. So.
Just want to ponder that and let it sink in for a while. Maybe we can come back and readdress it in the near future. But I just wanted to bring that up. I thought that might be a good use of those funds.
Yeah.
Okay, and we have anything else you want to bring up under discussion tonight? Okay, well, let's move on to our report, starting with our city manager, Kent.
Included in the packet is manager memo, also the month-end financial report. and fund balance. The street department has started a project at Highway 24 and Cherry Street, and I guess I would ask Kenton to come up and give a little report.
I guess there's not extremely a lot to report other than we started today, and, I guess we got a little over half of the asphalt removed today. Is a little thicker than I kind of expected it to be, so, but it's coming out pretty easy really, so, crumbling pretty easy, so. I'm hoping tomorrow we'll get, the rest of the asphalt tore out, and then we got to remove about 6 inches of dirt out of the bottom, and then put our zero fabric down, and then we'll be putting 6 inches of concrete crushing down and packing it in, and getting ready to pour, so that's kind of where we're at right now.
All right.
Pretty cool.
Sounds very good.
While I'm up here, manufacturing California.
Thank you.
The other thing that we did have an emergency resolution last time for 320 West Third. We did receive 3 bids. We did have the low bidder be B&K Pumping, and they have been, you had given staff authority to go ahead and authorize the bid. We did do that, and they are starting their preparations. We still have not received as yet. We have to have a disposal permit from KDHE. But we have not received that as yet from KDHE. Expecting that sometime this week. And then shortly thereafter, hopefully get that taken care of. The airport PAPI installation, which is the electronic landing for the crosswind runway, after we've completed that project last summer, as far as the concrete portion of that project. It is not proceeding well.
Mm-hmm.
There's continuing to be conflicts between FAA and the contractor and the engineering staff as far as what exactly is going to be followed. So, as far as the standards, and but they will get it done hopefully by the end of this month, well, at least a portion of it. Then there's 2 items they're still waiting to be delivered. And that should be August timeframe. So this has been a very difficult part of this project, and it's not getting any easier at this point.
And it's definitely been very drawn out.
It's drawn out, and now it's becoming a lot of conflict between all the various parties involved about what should be installed. And the other part of it is once it's installed, then there's a part of it they want it installed with a certain type of lighting system, and then they're going to tear that out and put LEDs in. But they cannot put it in LEDs at this time. This is just moving it from one location where it was. Now that the runway's extended, it needs to be at a new location further up the runway. And so, and then the connection between the old location and the new location, and what the grounding effect they need to have every 50 yards has been a part of the project that's been under quite a bit of discussion. So when you go out there, it's really not that much work, but it is according to FAA specifications. So it just depends which book of specifications it really needs to come out of. So it is getting done. I will move on before I say anything more. The Industrial Park Street and Utilities project starts next week, next Monday. They'll be going full bore shortly thereafter. There's one other thing. We had a request from the, and I was reminded today, regarding from the Sherman 4Cs, or the County Child Care Coalition. They are interested in the lot near West Elementary on West 10th. And spoke with Jake, and before we create a contract for you guys to consider regarding it, we just wanted to clarify with you what should be part of that contractual agreement. We kind of left that a little bit open-ended as of our last discussion 2 meetings ago. Is there any qualms regarding what should be prepared to the contract or any conditions? And I'll hand it over to Jake to say it better than I can.
It really, your possibilities are pretty open, right? So it's kind of up to you on what you want to do. Obviously, they ask you to get property, give them property. Obviously, trying to do that for a cause. So one of the concerns you always have in giving property, is the tip for tat on that is, as long as you do the project, right?
Correct.
So we always kind of have that concern of, look, we don't want to give this away and then wait 5 years and go, okay, so what happened to this project? The other side of that, we always have a difficult time, and especially we're giving free property to somebody for a project that they're going to develop it. I know their initial plan is they were going to get a house and put it on there, and if they don't get grant funds, or don't get whatever, can't staff it, or something along the lines, that their intention is, then we can offload it by just selling it. So, same idea then from the city standpoint, do we care, do we want some stopgaps in there of kind of a time frame like, okay, we want this to start development by this time, otherwise we get back, or in the event it sells, we do want some money back. It's kind of up to you on what you feel like, what you want to do. As we did look at the maps, they do have water, they do have sewer, so that, we don't have that cost. I think you end up with the curb, maybe curb cut out, that's about it. So it's kind of up to you guys, on what you feel like, what you want to do, or what you want to make as part of your proposal, or if you're interested in those, giving them the lost law.
Are they currently just looking at one lot, not two? Correct?
Just one.
Just one? The one, which one? One right next to the house or the other one?
One right next to the house. They would like the second one to still be available if it would ever come about, but they would only build one initially.
I guess my thoughts on this are, it's been a lot of discussions and generalities for 6 months about this group and what they're trying to accomplish, and it feels like they're moving on a good path now to get some things accomplished. And we do have a piece of property there that I do think is of value for them, that I am okay with letting them have. I do agree that there does need to be some caveats as to, I don't know, I haven't thought about the time frame to start the project aspect of, my thought process has always kind of been on, if it fails for whatever reason and then they sell the property, that the city at least gets the value from the lot back from the sale of that property. But as far as the time frame, I don't know if 5 years, 10 years, I don't know what a good time frame on that would be. But
Yeah, 'cause they're working on this grant, so we don't know how long those are gonna take.
mm-hmm.
And it's a lot right east of that house, or one over by the school?
Right there.
Right, yeah. For
Right
those
where
three
his cursor is.
Okay.
Yeah. There's 2 houses there and there's 2 additional lots.
Yeah. So it'd be a lot kind of where the 3 trees sit diagonally right there. Be that lot. I guess as far as we're not really doing anything with the lots currently, and I don't know that we really have any plans. I mean, we put them up for sale, that's anything we could do. But, I mean, I'm not against, having a time frame where they have to have a structure or something in place within a couple of years, or we get the property back. I don't necessarily think that has to be part of it, but I'm not against that if you guys think that would be. But I do definitely think there needs to be something where if we do end up selling the lot for profit, that the city does get the value back from that lot at that point in time. Whether, like I said, whether it be for 10 years, for perpetuity, I don't know what the best guideline would be as far as time frame on that is, what a standard would be, if there even is a standard. But I would like to see something on that end for sure be in there.
I'd be more concerned on that end also. It's a pretty open area, so it's to say as far as how long it would take or how long we would give them. I don't feel it's a big a deal.
I mean, I feel like they're trying to accomplish as quick as they can. They're wanting to get
They want it
something
done.
up and get something going for sure. But
Yeah.
any other thoughts? Is that clear enough?
It may be clear, but I don't know if exact is the word.
Yeah.
I think what would be the appropriate way to go about it is that now that knowing kind of the direction you're going, I don't think you guys are so concerned, nor does it really sit with me problem with saying, okay, we've committed to giving you this lot. Once you're ready to break ground, then we'll close on it. And you guys get it, right? So then the idea of like, okay, we can still hold it in our hands. And in all reality, I don't know if they'll listen to this or not, it's really to their benefit the longer the city holds on to that because it is tax exempt.
Mm-hmm.
The moment it gets transferred into their hands, although they are not for profit, but they're not a 501c3, that will be a taxable property. So as long as we hold on to it, it's really to their benefit. You commit to saying, yes, we will give you this lot, and when you're ready, or whatever, because we also don't know what the requirements are for the grants. It might be, no, you must have this or that, or whatever, meet whatever they need to. If you're wanting to do something then from the longevity purposes of saying, look, we'll give it to you, but we don't want to see this house then go up on the market a year from now, 2 years from now. I don't know if there is a number in your mind or what you guys think that you would like to get back to that lot if they were to sell it. This is just me saying it out loud. Then I would establish it as, if you were to rent them that space, how many years would it be to get that value for the time of that rent? Does that make sense? So if you say we would like $5,000 back from that, if you rented it to them for $1,000 a year, then make your longevity lien or whatever for 5 years. And as long as that stays in business and continues for 5 years, then you release that lien, and therefore you don't care if they go 10 years and have to sell it or whatever. That's just an idea, something to kind of justify the number.
Right.
Yep.
And then I think from our end of it, obviously, we can then talk to them, say, hey, this is kind of what they're thinking. Where are you guys come from? What are you thinking? So then we can kind of come back with options of what we're doing, right?
Yeah. I mean, I like that, but on the sense on the front end, where if we were to, that might be a good opportunity to put a time frame on there, say we will hold this for you until you are ready. But if, say, after a period of 2 years, if you've not been ready, then it will be null and void or whatever. Because I would think, or we can revisit, see where they are, or whatever we need to do.
Sounds good.
That might be the best thing for now, and then they have some sort of memorandum of understanding to say, we're holding it in abeyance. And then that's a document that they can turn around and give to their grant folks,
Mhm.
which works just as well as donating the property, I would think.
Yeah.
Work with
Okay.
it for that piece of it, and then.
Yep.
Then on the back end, we can get that finalized on the
It could
actual
be,
agreement.
again, there is no cookie cutter to this, so it could also be a scaled amount. If they were to sell it after the fact for so many years, you could have it set out in an agreement, a scaled amount that scales down the longer they're there. Does that kind of jive with you?
Yeah.
So, again, I don't know what that number is, I don't know what the magic number is, but the idea is whatever the value is coming from there, the longer they're on the lot and it works, then that amount that you would want back from the sale, if there was one, would scale down to just another option.
Yeah, I mean, I think that would be like whatever the current value of the lot is. Whether, I mean, I don't know, they're 10 to 15,000 typically is about what they're running right now, I think, for a period of 10 years, scaled down over 10 years or whatever. I mean, I think something like that would be okay too, but
That makes sense to me.
yeah.
Okay. That'll help, I think, be able to have a discussion with David Blocklinger tomorrow.
Okay. Thank you, Jay.
Also included in your packet was the budget calendar. It is upcoming. We will start with our presentation at next meeting.
Yeah.
I know you guys
Yay.
get excited about it. But you do have to realize that basically within 3 meetings, we need to make the decision regarding R&R.
Mm-hmm.
And we won't get our preliminary valuation from the county until the day of the next meeting or the day before next meeting,
Yeah.
something like that. So
Oh.
somewhere right around that June 15th timeframe, which is, either the 14th or 17th, we'll receive some notification on the preliminary valuation. So, and staff will do the best we can as far as doing estimates based on, I really haven't been given any indication what our valuation will be. They did state that the county's valuation would probably be going down, but not the city's valuation. So, having a hard time with that as well, understanding why it's going down. But
We're so much more valuable. I'm just joking.
Also, we have a commissioner tour this Thursday, looking at a time frame starting at 5 o'clock. I know it's hard for you guys to get off early, and then basically just going on a number of things from about 5 until 7:30, if that would work. So there's if we could start at the Historical Museum and the power plant, and then go onward and see the water tower, which we're a little later this summer. We'll have a project to fix a number of items with that water tower at the power plant, and then the other items within that. Also included a stop at Phillips Park, since you had been to their facilities firsthand, but then also stopping at 8th Street in Kansas, and let's get out and look for a second before we have the engineer come and start talking about how the plans should be developed.
That's a good idea. I like that.
And then head up north to the treatment plants, the water treatment plant, the wastewater treatment plant, the airport, the building expansion to hold the snow removal equipment. Kenton would also like to take out the snow removal equipment and at least show you.
We all get to
Not
take
that
turns
it's-
driving it.
Not that it's operational yet, and we don't even have all the pieces to it yet, so. and then finish up at the police department, where Assistant Chief Wright will show us a couple things at the police department. So, including the new backup dispatch center and the evidence area. So,
Very good.
so if that will work on Thursday night,
Meet at the museum?
start at the museum, yeah. Start there.
Yeah. If it runs 3, it's fine.
This week, there's a couple other things. There's a movie at the pool on Friday night, on June 7th. They are going to close the pool early. Barb came in today and said the pool will be closed at 3 so they can get set up for the first movie, which is earlier in the afternoon, 4:30, I think. And then the second movie is later,
What are we playing?
when the sun goes down. The second one is Jaws. The first one, I don't know, forgot the first one.
That's good.
So they're having that, and then the swim meet is this Saturday. So, but it'll be later in the day on Saturday, so they can get set up in the morning. So,
Good.
and that's all I have, I think.
Anybody have any questions or comments for our city manager?
Nope.
Thank you, sir.
You bet.
Move on to commissioner reports. We'll start on my right with Commissioner Myers,
Nothing to report?
Commissioner Howard,
Nothing at this time.
Commissioner Redland.
I have a personal thank you to the Goodland Police Department. I don't think it goes. I get emotional because you guys saved me a lot of heartache this last week, and I thank you. I think it goes unnoticed with you guys how much information you have to take in. You have to discern, decipher what to act on, or what we just need to keep quiet and let it build. And I think you handled my situation that I was dealing with a lot of professionalism. I just thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay. And for the mayor report, I have nothing more to add. With that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Redland,
Second.
second by Commissioner Howard. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, everybody.